This research will explore the Carmelite and Ursuline orders. What are some of the secrets behind the Order of St. Ursula and Carmelite nuns? The Ursulines and the Rosicrucians. Pope Pius V, born Antonio Ghislieri and reigning as Pope from 1566 to 1572, was a significant figure in the Catholic Church. He served as an inquisitor in various regions, and he was known for his role in the Counter-Reformation and his efforts to implement the decrees of the Council of Trent. Is it not a bit strange that the Pope who served as an inquisitor during the witch hunts in Europe was the same Pope who recognized the St. Ursula order, given the Ursulines' link to the Rosicrucians? The Ursulines and witchcraft. The witch hunts in Europe. The period between the 15th and 18th centuries in Europe was marked by widespread witch hunts and trials. Tens of thousands of people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft and executed. These accusations were often fueled by a combination of religious fervour, social unrest, and patriarchal control. Women who were seen as stepping outside traditional roles, or who possessed knowledge of herbal remedies, midwifery, or other skills, were particularly vulnerable to such charges. Ursuline convents and witchcraft. There are documented cases specifically linking the Ursuline order to accusations of witchcraft. One notable instance occurred in the 17th century in Loudun, France. The Loudun possessions were a notorious series of events in the 1630s involving Ursuline nuns in the French town of Loudun. The nuns claimed to be possessed by demons, leading to widespread panic, sensational trials, and the eventual execution of a local priest, Urbain Grandier. The Ursuline convent in Loudun was established in 1626, with a mission to educate and provide spiritual guidance to young women. The nuns at the convent lived a cloistered life devoted to prayer, education, and community service. Key events of the Loudun possessions. The Loudun possessions began in 1632, when several Ursuline nuns, including the Mother Superior, Jeanne des Anges, claimed to be possessed by demons. The nuns exhibited strange behaviours, including convulsions, speaking in tongues, and accusations of being tormented by invisible forces. These manifestations quickly attracted attention, and local clergy and authorities were called to investigate. Accusations against Urbain Grandier. Urbain Grandier, a local parish priest known for his eloquence and controversial views, became the primary target of the accusations. The nuns claimed that Grandier had bewitched them, and under pressure they provided detailed accounts of his alleged sorcery and pacts with the devil. The nuns made several specific accusations against Urbain Grandier, claiming he engaged in blasphemous and heretical practices. Here are the main blasphemies and heretical practices they attributed to Urbain Grandier: the desecration of sacred objects. The nuns claimed that Grandier desecrated sacred objects, such as the crucifix and holy relics, using them in sacrilegious rituals. Profane language. They accused him of using profane and blasphemous language, particularly during what they described as black masses, where he would allegedly mock the Christian faith and its sacraments. Impersonating holy figures. The nuns reported that Grandier would blasphemously impersonate Jesus Christ or other holy figures during their visions and alleged encounters, often mocking religious rites and prayers. Black masses. The nuns alleged that Grandier conducted black masses, which are inverted and perverted forms of the traditional Catholic Mass, meant to worship Satan rather than God. Pact with the devil. They claimed that Grandier had made a formal pact with the devil, a common accusation in witch trials. Use of sorcery and magic. Grandier was accused of practicing sorcery and using magical spells to control and harm the nuns. The possessed nuns described experiences of being tormented by demonic forces at Grandier's behest. Invocation of demons. The nuns testified that Grandier invoked demons to possess them. engagement in occult rituals. The possessed nuns described various occult rituals that Grandier allegedly performed, including summoning spirits and conducting ceremonies meant to channel demonic power. Jeanne des Anges, the Mother Superior of the Ursuline convent, was one of the main accusers. She claimed that Grandier appeared to her in visions and physically assaulted her through supernatural means. Other nuns reported similar experiences, including being attacked by invisible forces and witnessing Grandier's spectral presence during their fits of possession. They also recounted seeing Grandier performing blasphemous acts during their supposed visions. The case attracted widespread attention, and public exorcisms were conducted to expel the demons from the nuns. The exorcisms drew large crowds, and Grandier was arrested and subjected to a brutal trial. The trial was marked by evidence, and the testimonies extracted showed Grandier's pact with Satan. Urbain Grandier was found guilty of witchcraft and sentenced to death. He was publicly tortured and burned at the stake. The shrouded mystery behind the Carmelite Order of Nuns. The Carmelite Order of Nuns, an ancient and venerable institution within the Roman Catholic Church, has long been enveloped in an aura of mystery and secrecy. The Carmelite order traces its roots to the 12th century, when a group of Christian hermits settled on Mount Carmel in present-day Israel. Inspired by the prophet Elijah, they sought to live a life of solitude, prayer, and contemplation. The rule of St. Albert, given to them by Albert Avogadro, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, in the early 13th century, formalized their way of life. This rule emphasized a life of silence, poverty, and prayer, laying the foundation for the Carmelite spirituality. Transition to Europe. Following the fall of the Crusader states, the Carmelites migrated to Europe, where they faced numerous challenges, including adapting to a new way of life in urban settings. Despite these difficulties, the order grew and established numerous monasteries across the continent. The Carmelites split into two branches in the 16th century: the Chalced Carmelites, who maintained a more relaxed observance of the rule, and the Discalced Carmelites, who adhered to a stricter interpretation, emphasizing poverty and solitude. Secrecy and the vows of silence. The Carmelite tradition includes vows of silence and strict enclosure, which have fueled speculation and intrigue. These vows are designed to foster a deeper focus on prayer and contemplation, yet they also contribute to the order's enigmatic reputation. Outsiders often wonder about the daily lives and inner experiences of the nuns, leading to a fascination with the perceived secrets hidden within the cloister walls. The legacy of notable Carmelite nuns. Thérèse of Lisieux, also known as the Little Flower, is one of the most beloved and influential Carmelite nuns. Her autobiography, Story of a Soul, details her simple yet profound little way of spiritual childhood, emphasizing love and trust in God. St. Edith Stein, a Jewish convert to Catholicism and a Carmelite nun, was martyred in Auschwitz during World War II. Her life and writings, particularly on phenomenology and the role of women, bridge the worlds of academia and spirituality. Stein's journey from atheism to mysticism, culminating in her martyrdom, highlights the transformative power of faith and the profound mysteries of human suffering and divine grace. The shrouded mystery. Behind the order of the Ursuline nuns. The Ursuline Order of Nuns, officially known as the Order of St. Ursula, stands as one of the most influential and enduring religious orders in the Roman Catholic Church. Founded in the 16th century by Angela Merici, the Ursulines are primarily dedicated to the education of girls and young women. However, like many religious orders, the Ursulines are also enveloped in an aura of mystery and intrigue. The foundation of the Ursuline Order. The Ursuline Order was founded in 1535 in Brescia, Italy, by Angela Merici. Angela was a visionary woman who felt a profound call to address the educational and spiritual needs of girls and women in her society. She gathered a group of like-minded women to form a company dedicated to the education and Christian formation of young women. Unlike many other religious orders of the time, the Ursulines did not initially live in a convent. They remained in their homes and met regularly for prayer and instruction, allowing them to engage more directly with the community. Expansion and evolution. The Ursuline order quickly grew in numbers and influence, spreading across Italy and into other parts of Europe. In 1568, Pope Pius V officially recognized the Ursuline order, and it began to establish convents and schools throughout the continent. The Ursulines were particularly noted for their educational innovations and their commitment to teaching girls from all social classes. Over time, the order adapted to include a more structured convent life with vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, while continuing their educational mission. Empowerment through education. One of the most significant and often overlooked aspects of the Ursuline order is its role in empowering women through education. At a time when women's roles were largely confined to the domestic sphere, the Ursulines offered girls the opportunity to receive a formal education and develop skills that would enable them to participate more fully in society. This emphasis on women's education was revolutionary and has had a lasting impact on the status and opportunities available to women in the church and beyond. The vow of enclosure posed a unique challenge for the Ursulines, given their mission of education. To reconcile these two aspects of their vocation, many Ursuline communities developed innovative ways to continue their educational work while maintaining their cloistered lifestyle. This often involved establishing schools adjacent to or within their convents, allowing the nuns to teach while remaining within the bounds of their enclosure. These arrangements required careful negotiation with church authorities and demonstrated the Ursulines' commitment to their dual mission of education and contemplation. Angela Merici remains a towering figure in the history of the Ursuline order. Her visionary leadership and dedication to the education and spiritual formation of women laid the foundation for the order's enduring legacy. Angela's writings, particularly her counsels and legacies, continue to inspire Ursuline nuns and educators around the world. Marie of the Incarnation, a French Ursuline nun, played a pivotal role in the expansion of the order to the New World. In 1639, she traveled to Quebec, Canada, where she established the first Ursuline convent and school in North America. Marie's extraordinary linguistic abilities, including her mastery of several indigenous languages, enabled her to communicate and build relationships with the local populations. Her efforts laid the groundwork for the Ursuline mission in the Americas and demonstrated the order's adaptability and commitment to education across cultures. Angela Merici's foundation of the Ursuline order was deeply rooted in her mystical experiences and prophetic visions. Angela's visions often included symbolic imagery and divine messages that directed her to focus on the education and spiritual nurturing of young women. The role of mysticism in Ursuline spirituality. Mysticism has continued to play a significant role in Ursuline spirituality. The contemplative practices of the nuns are designed to cultivate a profound inner life and a direct experiential relationship with God. This mystical orientation has sometimes led to extraordinary spiritual phenomena such as visions, locutions, hearing divine messages, and other mystical experiences. These occurrences, while not universally experienced or required, contribute to the sense of mystery and divine presence within the order. The global impact of Ursuline missionaries. Ursuline missionaries, such as Marie of the Incarnation, expanded the order's influence far beyond Europe. Marie's establishment of the Ursuline mission in Quebec was instrumental in bringing education and Christianity to the New World. Her ability to learn and teach in indigenous languages and her respectful approach to indigenous cultures exemplify the Ursuline commitment to education and cultural sensitivity. Other missionaries followed in her footsteps, establishing schools and convents across the globe, from North America to Asia and Africa, adapting their methods to local contexts while maintaining their core values. The role of mystical phenomena. Mystical experiences have been a recurrent theme in the history of the Ursuline order. These phenomena often include visions, ecstasies, and other extraordinary spiritual experiences that have been reported by various nuns throughout the centuries. Such experiences have been both a source of inspiration and controversy, as they challenge the boundaries between faith, psychology, and the supernatural. The Ursuline tradition tends to view these experiences as authentic encounters with the divine, provided they align with church teachings and result in greater humility, charity, and spiritual growth. Vocational decline and renewal. Like many religious orders, the Ursulines have experienced a decline in vocations in recent decades. This has prompted a re-evaluation of how they communicate their charism and mission to potential new members. Efforts to revitalize vocations include greater outreach through social media, involvement in community service projects, and creating opportunities for lay collaboration. These initiatives aim to make the Ursuline way of life more accessible and appealing to a new generation of women. The Ursuline Order's global network, international collaboration and unity. The Ursuline Order has developed a robust global network of schools, convents, and social service initiatives. This international collaboration allows for the sharing of resources, ideas, and support across different cultural and geographical contexts. Annual meetings, international conferences, and digital communication platforms help maintain a sense of unity and shared purpose among Ursuline communities worldwide. The secret mission and mystery behind the Ursuline Order. The Order of St. Ursula, like many religious orders, the Ursulines have been the subject of various myths, rumors, and speculative theories. Let's seek to uncover the hidden aspects and secret missions attributed to the Ursuline Order, exploring their role during periods of upheaval in the Catholic Church, their involvement with Native American populations, allegations of witchcraft, and any potential connections to esoteric groups such as the Rosicrucian. The Ursulines during the Catholic Church upheaval, the Counter-Reformation and educational reform. The Ursuline Order played a significant role during the Counter-Reformation, a period of Catholic revival and reform in response to the Protestant Reformation. The Catholic Church sought to reassert its influence and counter the spread of Protestantism through various means, including education. The Ursulines, with their focus on educating young women, were instrumental in this effort. They established schools across Europe, providing a rigorous Catholic education that emphasized religious instruction and moral development, secret missions and influence. There are suggestions that the Ursulines were involved in more secretive missions during this period, aimed at countering Protestant influence. Some historians propose that the Ursulines, like other religious orders, were used by the Catholic Church to infiltrate Protestant communities and gather intelligence. While there is limited concrete evidence to support these claims, the Ursulines' widespread network of schools and their interactions with influential families certainly place them in a strategic position to exert subtle influence. The Ursulines and Native American populations, missionary work in the New World. The Ursulines were among the first Catholic orders to establish missions in the New World. In 1639, Marie of the Incarnation, a French Ursuline nun, arrived in Quebec, Canada, and founded the first Ursuline convent in North America. The primary goal of these missions was to educate and convert indigenous populations to Christianity. The Ursulines established schools for Native American girls, teaching them European customs, language, and Catholic doctrine. Controversies and accusations. The Ursuline missions, like other missionary efforts of the time, are not without controversy. There are allegations that these missions contributed to the cultural erosion and marginalization of Native American societies. The residential school system in Canada, in which many Indigenous children were forcibly removed from their families and placed in boarding schools, is a dark chapter in history, and it was the Ursulines who operated many of these schools. Discovery of Native American children's remains in Canada. The discovery at the residential schools in Canada was deeply tragic. It involves several religious orders, including the Ursulines. Recently, there have been significant discoveries related to the remains of Indigenous children at former residential school sites, sparking renewed scrutiny and conversations about historical injustices. The Canadian residential school system was a network of boarding schools for Indigenous children, funded by the Canadian government and administered by Christian churches, including the Catholic Church. These schools were part of a policy aimed at assimilating Indigenous children into Euro-Canadian culture, often forcibly removing them from their families and communities. The conditions at these schools were harsh, and many children suffered physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. The legacy of these schools has left a lasting impact on Indigenous communities. In recent years, ground-penetrating radar has revealed the presence of unmarked graves at several former residential school sites across Canada. In May 2021, the Tk'emlúps-te-Secwépemc First Nation announced the discovery of the remains of 215 children at the site of the former Kamloops Indian Residential School in British Columbia. This shocking revelation was followed by similar discoveries at other locations, such as the former Marieville Indian Residential School in Saskatchewan, where 751 unmarked graves were found, and the former St. Eugene's Mission School in British Columbia, where over 180 unmarked graves were detected. The Ursuline Order did operate some of these residential schools, such as the St. Marie's Indian Residential School in Quebec. However, the discovery of the graves at these sites involves other orders and institutions as well. For instance, the Kamloops Indian Residential School was run by the Catholic Church, but specifically by the Oblates of Mary Immaculate, not the Ursulines. The same applies to many of the other sites where unmarked graves have been found. While the Ursulines did participate in the broader system of residential schools, their direct involvement in the specific instances where graves have been discovered is limited. Nonetheless, the broader system, including all participating religious orders, shares collective responsibility for the abuses and tragic outcomes associated with these schools. The discoveries have prompted widespread mourning and calls for justice for Indigenous communities. They have also led to national and international reckoning with the legacy of colonialism and systemic abuse. These accusations that the Ursulines were responsible for the deaths of Native American children need careful examination, because while the conditions in many residential schools were harsh and abuses occurred, attributing the responsibility solely to the Ursulines overlooks the complex interplay of government policies and church authorities. The Ursulines likely believed they were acting in the best interests of the children, despite the tragic outcomes that resulted. Throughout history, religious orders, including the Ursulines, have faced accusations of witchcraft and involvement in occult practices. The Ursulines' emphasis on education and their influence in communities may have fueled suspicions and led to allegations of witchcraft, particularly during periods of religious and social turmoil. However, some of these accusations may ring true.